Welcome to the Midrash Says Out Loud. This week we will be learning the Midrash Parasha, Vayetzei. Hope this channel will open your mind to the great teachings of the sages and deepen your connection to the Torah. Before we begin, we invite you, turn on captions, settle in for the drive or sit in your comfortable chair and relax as you listen to what the Midrash says, out loud. Vayetzei Jacob on his way to Haran. Jacob secretly left Beersheba to flee from his brother Esau, but Esau heard news of Jacob's departure. He commanded his son Eliphaz to pursue Jacob and kill him for having stolen his blessing. Esau persuaded Eliphaz, "My son, if you kill Jacob, you will regain the firstborn right." Eliphaz, however, was reluctant and asked his mother Ada for her opinion. "My son," she advised him, "do not attempt to kill Jacob. He is stronger than you, and he will slay you. If your wicked father were not afraid that Jacob might kill him, he himself would pursue him rather than delegate the errand to you." Yet Eliphaz did not dare ignore his father's command altogether. He pursued Jacob and overtook him, but he did not kill him, since Eliphaz had grown up under his grandfather Isaac's tutelage and would therefore not lay hands on Jacob. Instead, he robbed him of whatever he possessed, because a pauper is likened to a dead man. He even stripped Jacob of his clothes, leaving him destitute and naked. Jacob immersed himself in the river and cried out to HaShem. Immediately a horseman appeared. Galloping by on his steed, he wanted to cross the river, but instead fell into the water and drowned. Jacob took the dead man's clothes, washed them in the river, and dressed himself, since he was afraid that he would be suspected of having murdered the writer and that the family of the drowned man might seek to take revenge on him. He fled to the Beis HaMidrash of Shem and Iver. He stayed there in hiding for 14 years and studied Torah. Jacob learned so diligently that he never once lay down to sleep in a bed during the entire period. After this era of devotion to intensive Torah study, Jacob traveled to Haran to find a wife for himself from the family of Abraham. After a long journey, Jacob finally reached Haran. Arriving there, he remembered that on his way he had passed Mount Moriah without having stopped to pray there. "What have I done?" he asked himself. "I passed the place where my fathers Abraham and Isaac used to say their tefillot, and I did not take the opportunity to pray there." Though unhesitatingly, he turned on his heels and began the journey all the way back to Mount Moriah. As a reward for his intention to return on so long a journey for the sake of reciting tefillot in a holy site, HaShem performed a miracle for Jacob. Mount Moriah came traveling towards him, and he reached it in a very short time. Jacob prayed there, and after having completed his tefillah, wanted to leave since the day was still light and he was able to travel further. Suddenly he heard angelic voices exclaim, "Jacob has arrived, the great Jacob who, like the sun, sheds light on the universe." Jacob understood that as a result of the great holiness of the site, he was overhearing a conversation in heaven. When he wanted to leave, the sunlight suddenly vanished and he found himself enveloped in darkness, so that he was unable to travel further. HaShem wished to reveal himself to Jacob in a prophetic dream, and therefore caused the sun to set early, in order to detain him on Mount Moriah overnight. The king received a message that his best friend who lived in a distant country planned to visit him. "I see my friend so very rarely," the king said to his servants. "As soon as he arrives, make sure to extinguish all the lamps in the palace. I want to take this rare opportunity to have a private audience with him, confiding in him matters of the greatest secrecy." Similarly, HaShem wished to detain Jacob on Mount Moriah, the site of the future Beit HaMikdash, where Jacob would be capable of achieving a greater vision on account of the holiness of the place. He therefore made the sun set before its time to reveal himself to Jacob in a prophetic dream. Jacob prepared for a night outdoors. He chose 12 stones from the Mizbeach altar that had been built on this mountain by Abraham when he offered up Isaac. He arranged these around himself as a barrier against wild animals. Jacob used one of the stones as a pillow, he thought. "My grandfather Abraham, who married 2 women, had 2 sons, one a tzaddik and one a rasha. I know that I am destined to marry 4 women, and HaShem will give me from them 12 sons from which the Jewish people will come. How many wicked sons will I have? Let me devise a test. If the 12 stones which I have set up will merge into a single unit, I will be assured that all 12 tribes will be tzaddikim and serve HaShem in unity." Jacob lay down and fell asleep. It is remarkable that Jacob was able to sleep with the field as a bed and a stone as his pillow. Yet despite the dangers of his journey, Jacob slept peacefully because of his great trust in HaShem. His attachment to the Shekinah was so profound that his precarious situation did not affect him. As soon as Jacob was asleep, each stone cried out, "I want the tzaddik to rest his head on me." All 12 stones then merged into one big stone, for HaShem wished to assure Jacob that none of his sons would be a rasha. When Jacob awoke and found that the stones had become one, he knew he would become the father of 12 tribes who would all serve HaShem. Jacob's prophetic dream of the Yai. Later on that night, HaShem revealed himself to Jacob in a prophetic dream. Its purpose was to strengthen Jacob, who was being persecuted by Esau and on his way to Lavan the swindler, assuring him of HaShem's assistance throughout all future events. Jacob had a vision of a ladder that extended from the earth to the heaven. He visualized an angel climbing it whom he recognized to be the Sar, protective angel of the Babylonian kingdom. The angel ascended 70 rungs of the ladder. Jacob then understood that his descendants were to stay in the Babylonian exile for 70 years. After the angel had reached the 70th rung, he fell, and Jacob understood that after 70 years of exile, the Jews would be liberated from the yoke of the Babylonians. Next, Jacob perceived the protective angel of Media ascend the ladder. He mounted 52 rungs and fell. Jacob understood as a result that the Median exile would end after 52 years. He then saw the Tsar of Greece climb up 180 steps and plunge downwards, foreshadowing the length of the Greek exile. Finally, Jacob was shown the angel of Edom, our present exile, stepping up the ladder. He climbed higher and higher still, an apparently endless ascent into the very heavens. Jacob did not see him fall and was gripped by fear. "Will this fourth exile be unending?" he asked HaShem. "No," HaShem reassured him. "Even if the angel climbs as high as the stars, I myself will take him down when the time comes." Jacob heard the angels of the nations comment, "This Jacob will in the future dominate the world and subdue all the kingdoms. Let us kill him now." But HaShem himself appeared and stood above Jacob to protect him. Then Jacob showed a new vision. In this vision, the ladder represented the ramp leading up to the altar of the future Beit HaMikdash. The ramp was symbolized by a ladder, since the pleasant aroma of the korbanot rises to heaven. He perceived the Kohanim, compared to angels, hurrying up and down the ramp of the Mizbeach altar, eagerly performing the avodah. Subsequently, Jacob received a prophecy in which he foresaw that the Beit HaMikdash would go up in flames. He then saw the second Beit HaMikdash being built. Jacob was given yet another preview of the future. He had a vision of Matan Torah, the pinnacle of creation. The ladder symbolized Har Sinai, ablaze with flames that reached the heavens, and he foresaw that his descendants would stand at its foot to receive the Torah. In this vision, the angels represented Moshe and Aharon, who would ascend Har Sinai, Aharon remaining on the mountain and Moshe going up to heaven to receive the Luchot, tablets from HaShem. Jacob was given an additional prophecy. He was shown that the angels climbing upwards were the angels of the land of Israel, who had so far accompanied him on his journey. Now that he had reached the borders of the Holy Land, they returned to heaven, and new angels destined to protect him outside the land of Israel descended. Suddenly, all the angels vanished, and he beheld HaShem himself, who stood on guard above him, announcing, "I am the God of your father Abraham and the God of your father Isaac. The land upon which you lie will be yours and your descendants." Jacob experienced a vision in which HaShem folded the whole land and placed it beneath his head, just as someone folded a paper map. His head now rested on the land in its entirety. This was a symbol that Jacob would be given ownership of the land of Israel and that his descendants would conquer it with ease. HaShem prophesied to him, "Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth. Just as earth is the foundation of the world, so will your children be the foundation of the world. The world will be blessed in the merit of your descendants. I shall guard you wherever you go in Lavan's house and in Shechem." Jacob awoke and knew that his dream had been a prophetic one. "The Shekinah rests in this place," he said in great fear, "and I did not know it, or else I would not have dared to sleep here." Jacob's words, "The Shekinah dwells in this place," teach us that the Shekinah rests on Mount Moriah forever. The Shekinah not only rested there while the Beit HaMikdash was standing, but continues to inhabit the holy site to this very day. When one prays on that site, it is as if he prayed before the Kisai HaKavod, the heavenly throne, itself. It is the gate to heaven, open for all Tefillot to enter. Jacob lifted the stone on which he had rested his head and set it up as a monument to commemorate his prophetic vision. He anointed the stone with oil that was especially provided from heaven for this purpose, to indicate that his descendants would in the future be anointed to Kehuna and kingship. Then Jacob fell on his face and made a vow, saying, "HaShem, if you will be with me on my way and guard me from speaking Lashon Hara, from immorality, bloodshed, and idol worship, so that I will return to my father's home spiritually and physically perfect, I shall offer Todah and Olah sacrifices to you in this place. If you provide me with bread to eat and clothing to wear, I vow to give you a tenth of whatever I earn." Jacob the Tzaddik requested that HaShem provide him with only the necessities of life, but not the luxuries, since luxuries are detrimental to Avodat HaShem. A Kusi, member of a sect of insincere converts, asked Rabbi Meir, "Don't you claim that your forefather Jacob was honest?" "We do." "And didn't he vow, 'Of all that you give me, I will surely give you a tenth'?" "He did." "If so, why did he only set aside one son, Levi, for Hashem's service? He had 12 sons and would have been obligated to consecrate more than one son to Hashem." Rabbi Meir answered, "There were in reality not 12 tribes, but 14, since Yosef's sons Manasseh and Ephraim had equal status with the rest of the tribes. That emphasizes my question even more." Rabbi Meir asked the Kusi in return, "Is it true that these sons were born from 4 different mothers?" "Yes." "Each mother then had one firstborn who is holy to Hashem, i.e. 4 of the 14 tribes were already set aside for Hashem's service. Of the remaining 10, Jacob separated Levi for Hashem." The Kusi admiringly exclaimed, "Blessed are you and blessed be the nation in whose midst you live." Hashem's angel transported Jacob so that he arrived in Haran on the day of his departure. There were 5 miracles that happened to Jacob as he traveled to Haran. When he arrived on Mount Moriah, the sun set before its time so that he would be compelled to stay there overnight. All stones which he had placed beneath his head merged into one big stone. The route was shortened for him, and he arrived in Haran the same day he had left. When he arrived in Haran, he rolled the boulder off from on top of the well, although the shepherds could usually only remove it by their combined efforts. The well water rose and irrigated the fields of Haran. Jacob serves Lavan 7 years for Rachel. When Jacob arrived in Haran, he noticed that the shepherds were all gathered around a well, whose opening was blocked by a tremendous stone. The well had purposely been covered with a big boulder because at that time, all the other water sources of the city were contaminated, and the entire city was dependent on this well for water. The inhabitants therefore decided to place a stone over its opening, so that access to it should be limited. It was only possible to procure water at certain hours, after the stone was rolled off by the united efforts of all the shepherds. Jacob addressed the shepherds in a courteous and friendly manner, asking them, "My brothers, where are you from?" "From Haran." "Do you know Lavan, the son of Nachor?" He questioned them further. "We know him." They all knew Lavan, who was one of the famous people of Haran. Jacob wanted to find out more about him and asked, "What type of man is he, and what does he do? Does he live at peace with the citizens of Haran?" The shepherds did not understand the purpose of Jacob's inquiries and considered him an idle talker. "If you are interested in making conversation," they answered him, "here is Rachel, his daughter, coming out with the sheep. Ask her, since women are talkative." Jacob rebuked the shepherds. "Why do you sit around idly by the well? If you are employed, it is your duty to continue grazing the sheep until dark. If these are your own sheep, it is not yet time to gather them for the night." The shepherds explained to Jacob that they were waiting for everybody to arrive to be able to roll the stone off the well and give water to the sheep. As they were speaking, Rachel appeared with Lavan's sheep. It was HaShem who had sent Rachel out to meet Jacob, since she was destined to become his mate. In some cases, the preordained wife travels to meet the husband. In other instances, the husband travels to find her. But no matter which way it occurs, they must meet if it has thus been decreed by heaven. A Roman noblewoman asked Rabbi Yosef bar Halafta, "How long did it take HaShem to create the world?" 6 days, he replied. "And what has he been doing since then?" she inquired. "He pairs people off, bringing the husband together with his future wife," Rabbi Yosef informed her. "Is this his occupation?" she asked laughingly. "I could do that too. I possess a great number of men servants and maidservants and would be able to marry them off to each other in no time. You may think it is easy, but to HaShem it is as difficult as Kiryat Yam Suf, the splitting of the Red Sea." After Rabbi Yosef left, the noblewoman formed rows of men servants and of maids, 1,000 in each row, and ordered, "So-and-so is to marry so-and-so," pairing them off as she walked down the line. They were all married in one night, but when they returned to work the next morning, they were a sorry sight to behold. One came with an injured head, another's eye was missing, the foot of another was broken. "What is the matter here?" the mistress asked. "I do not want this girl for a wife. I don't want this husband." The uproar was fearful. The noblewoman immediately sent for Rabbi Yosef bar Halafta. When he appeared before her, she admitted, "There is no God like your God. Your Torah is truthful, beautiful, and praiseworthy. When you explained to me that HaShem is busy making matches, you spoke wisely." This noblewoman originally thought that the world can exist without HaShem's providence, but at the end she had to admit that the world needs HaShem's continual guidance. King Shlomo had a daughter of unequaled beauty. He foresaw that her future marriage partner was to be a pauper, from the most destitute class of his subjects. Shlomo commanded that a castle be built on an island far out in the ocean, and had his daughter brought there. He put 70 armed guards around it, locked all the entrances, and commanded the soldiers to be on the alert day and night so that no one should enter. Shlomo said, "Let me see how HaShem guides the world." In a far-off town, a pauper journeyed on foot in the middle of the night. He was hungry, thirsty, and barefoot, and had no home where he could spend the night. Suddenly, he discovered the carcass of an ox in a field. Happy to have found a shelter from the cold, the man crawled between its ribs, covered himself with the hide, and soon was fast asleep. A gigantic bird of prey swooped down from the sky, lifted the carcass, and carried it up to the sky in the direction of the ocean. The bird of prey flew to the roof of the castle on the island, dropped the carcass together with the man lying inside, devoured the flesh of the carcass, and flew away. The next day, when the girl took her daily morning walk on the roof, she was astonished to find a man up there. She asked him who he was and how he had gotten there in spite of the constant guard posted at all the gates. "I am a Jew from the town of Akko," he explained to her, "and a bird of prey carried me here." She invited him into the castle, gave him food and clothing, and they conversed with each other. She found out that he was a sofer, scribe, and a learned man, and when he asked her if she wanted to marry him, she willingly agreed. The lad had no quill and ink to write the marriage contract, so he cut himself and wrote her a marriage contract with his own blood, saying, "The angels Gabriel and Michael are our witnesses." Time passed, and the girl concealed the presence of her husband, fearing that her father might be opposed to the marriage. But one day the guards heard the unmistakable crying of a little child in the castle. They searched the castle and found her husband and infant son. The guards became deathly pale, afraid of the king's anger, and sent him a message urging him to come to the island. King Shlomo boarded a ship and sailed to visit his daughter. "Our master the king," the guards entreated him, "do not punish us for what occurred, for we are not to blame for it." Shlomo called his daughter and her husband, who showed him the marriage contract he had written. Shlomo questioned him about his family and city of origin, and understood that he was the man who had been predicted for his daughter. Full of joy, Shlomo called out, "Blessed be the Almighty who forever brings together the husband and wife who are destined for each other." HaShem had sent a plague among Lavan's flocks, and only a few sheep survived. Lavan therefore dismissed his shepherd, and Rachel took care of the remaining sheep. When Jacob saw Rachel, he recalled his father's instructions to marry one of Lavan's daughters. He stepped up to the well and rolled off the stone as easily as a person removes a bottle cap. The well water immediately surged up and overflowed onto all the fields. A blessing had come to the town with Jacob's arrival. Jacob realized that the well water coming towards him was HaShem's sign that he had sent him his mate. The shepherds observed how Jacob, whom they considered to be a stranger, not knowing that he was Rachel's cousin, approached Rachel and kissed her. They stared and wondered, "Has he come here to teach us immorality?" They sneered. Jacob wept. He was hurt at having been falsely accused of impure thoughts with his kiss, which was motivated solely by spiritual considerations and meant as a greeting to a relative. He wept, however, for a deeper reason too, for at that moment the Ruach HaKodesh rested upon him, and he foresaw that Rachel would die at an early age and not be buried together with him. Furthermore, Jacob wept because he arrived empty-handed in Lavan's house. He remembered well that Eliezer had brought 10 camels loaded with precious things when he had come to find a wife for Isaac. Jacob feared that Lavan would refuse to give his daughter to a pauper, and his whole trip might therefore be in vain. Jacob explained to Rachel how he was related to her and the purpose of his coming to Lavan. "Do you wish to marry me?" he asked her. "Yes," she answered, "but my father is a swindler, and he will surely manage to cheat you. Do not worry. I know how to trick him back." Is a tzaddik allowed to cheat? If the person with whom he is dealing is a swindler, one is permitted to outwit him. But what fraud does he intend to perpetrate against me? I have an older sister. He will not allow me to get married before her, but will give you my sister instead of me. If so, let us now arrange signs by which I shall recognize you. Jacob instructed Rachel what to answer if he asked her certain questions. Rachel ran to notify her father Lavan of the newcomer's presence. Since her mother was no longer alive, she could not tell her the news but had to speak to her father instead. Lavan hurried out to greet Jacob, his famous wealthy relative. Eliezer, Abraham's servant, brought 10 camels when he came here, Lavan thought. How many more must Jacob have? Now I will become the owner of all that wealth. How disappointed was Lavan when he saw Jacob standing outside all alone, without the expected camels loaded with gold, silver, and jewels. It cannot be, Lavan thought. He probably brought diamonds and hid them under his garments. Lavan embraced Jacob cordially, sliding his fingers over Jacob's garments but coming up with nothing. Maybe, it flashed through Lavan's mind, he was afraid of theft and put his valuables in his mouth. Lavan kissed him lovingly. No, his mouth was empty. I have nothing on me, Jacob explained to Lavan. Eliphaz pursued me and robbed me of all my belongings. I barely escaped with my life. Disappointed, Lavan said, I intended to honor you like a king, but now I see that you are only a dry, meatless bone. You can come in anyway, though. Jacob stayed in Lavan's house and tended Lavan's flocks for a month. After this time, Lavan said to him, It is not right that it should work for me without pay. Tell me how much you want, and I will give it to you. Lavan, who was an impostor, however, had no intention of paying Jacob the salary he would demand. He decided that he would give Jacob half of whatever sum he would request. If he wants 10 gold pieces, I will give him 5, Lavan reckoned. If he wants 6, he will get 3. But Jacob had not come to Lavan to earn money, but only for the purpose of finding a wife. I shall serve you 7 years in exchange for Rachel, he said. Very well. It is better that I give her to you than to a stranger. Stay with me. I heard that people in this place are swindlers, Jacob said. I do not want them to suggest to you that you cheat me. Therefore, we will clarify the terms of our agreement beyond any doubt. I am working for your daughter Rachel, and not for any other girl by that same name. And don't change your older daughter's name to Rachel, because it is the younger one for whom I serve you." Lavan agreed. Jacob stayed with Lavan and served him faithfully for 7 years. When the 7 years had ended, Jacob told Lavan, "HaShem wants 12 tribes to be born from me, and I am already 84 years old. Give me my wife without delay." Lavan the crook deceives Jacob and the whole town of Haran. Lavan was called Lavan the crook for a very good reason. Lavan ha'arami haramai, the swindler. He knew how to beguile everybody, even the people of Haran who were swindlers themselves. He called all the townspeople and said to them, "Are you aware of the fact that since Jacob's arrival, a blessing rests upon the well water and our produce thrives? We realize it. But now he wants to marry my daughter Rachel and leave. The good fortune that came upon us on his account will depart together with him. I have a plan to detain him for an additional 7 years, but I need your cooperation. Will you help me?" "Yes. I shall give him my daughter Leah instead of Rachel, and then he will surely stay 7 more years to work for Rachel also." "Do that. But how can I be sure that none of you will inform Jacob of my plan? I must ask all of you for a security, to guarantee that you will not reveal the fact that I am replacing Rachel with Leah. Each of you must leave me 1 piece of value as a pledge of silence until after the wedding." The townspeople gave Lavan pearls, gold, silver, and jewelry, and he collected them all. But Lavan deceived the townspeople also. He had no intention of returning their valuables. He brought them directly to a dealer, sold them, and with the money arranged a luxurious wedding meal. The whole town was invited, and they all sang and danced in honor of Jacob and his bride. "Why are you so kind to me?" Jacob asked them. "You have brought a blessing upon Haran," the people answered. "Since you came, the well water overflows." All the candles were extinguished, and the bride was brought in. "What is this?" asked Jacob. "Why did you darken the room?" "What do you think?" They answered him. "In our country, people are modest." Leah was brought in dressed as the bride. Jacob, prepared for deceit, asked his bride for the signs he had arranged with her. She answered his questions, and he was satisfied. How was this possible? When Leah was about to be presented as the bride, Rachel thought, "Now my sister will be exposed to public shame. How terrible for her." She said, "If I have not been found worthy to build the Jewish nation, let my sister build it instead." She then revealed to her sister the secret signs. She even hid in the room where the couple was staying and answered Jacob's question so that Leah's voice would not reveal the truth to him. The wedding guests slyly sang a tune with the refrain, "Ole, ole, ole," to hint to him without actually saying it, "It is Leah." They did this so that Jacob should not later blame them for having concealed the truth. They would then excuse themselves by claiming that they had actually tried to tell him. Jacob did not discover the fraud until the next morning. Why did HaShem allow Lavan to carry out his cunning plan to deceive Jacob? HaShem wanted to reward Leah by making her the wife of Jacob, because for many years she had beseeched HaShem that she should be able to marry a tzaddik. After Esau and Jacob were born, 2 daughters were born to Lavan. Lavan and Isaac exchanged letters stating that Isaac's older son was engaged to Lavan's older daughter, and the younger son to the younger daughter. When Leah grew up, she inquired, "What type of a man is Esau?" "He is a thief and a robber," she was told. Leah poured out her heart to HaShem, entreating him to let her become the wife of a tzaddik. While praying, she wept so much that her eyes became swollen. Since Leah was betrothed to Esau, Jacob never requested her for a wife, thinking, "If I ask for her, Esau will say, 'Not only did you take my firstborn right and blessings, but you also took away the girl I was engaged to.'" He therefore only asked Lavan for Rachel. How powerful is the effect of tefillah? Leah's tefillah not only brought about her marriage to Jacob rather than to Esau, but more than that, she married him, even before her sister did. After the wedding, all the townspeople found out that they had been cheated by Lavan. "Where are our pieces of jewelry?" The guests asked Lavan when the wedding was over. "Go to the storekeeper," Lavan replied. "He has them. If you pay him enough money, he will certainly return it to you." "How could you pretend to be Rachel and answer me when I called you her name?" Jacob angrily demanded Leah. She replied, "I am your student. I learned from you how to do it. Didn't you come to your father, dressed up as Esau, and when your father called you Esau, you responded? I only imitated you." Her answer implied, "Just as you acted deceitfully l'shem shamayim for HaShem's sake, knowing that this was the correct step to take, so did I." Jacob marries Rachel and his wife Leah give birth to 4 sons and their twin sisters. "What have you done to me?" Jacob rebuked Lavan. "Did I not serve you for Rachel? Why have you deceived me?" "It is not the custom in our place, Lavan," answered Jacob, "to give the younger daughter in marriage before the firstborn. After the 7 days of the marriage feast I will give you Rachel too, provided you work for me for another 7 years." Jacob agreed. Although Lavan had deceived him, Jacob continued to serve him for the next 7 years with the same hard labor and honesty as he had previously. He was unlike most people, who began a new job with enthusiasm but eventually slacken off. Jacob's last year of service was performed with the same dedication and vigor as his first year. In fact, Jacob fulfilled his duty as a shepherd to such a degree of perfection that during all 14 years of work, he never once lay down to sleep a full night. While guarding the sheep, Jacob had leisure time to direct his thoughts to HaShem. During that period, he composed many chapters of the book of Tehillim, becoming one of the founders of that sefer. Subsequently, the songs Jacob had composed were forgotten and were written down once again later by King David. A week after his marriage to Leah, Lavan gave Rachel to Jacob as a wife also. Leah was depressed and thought, "Jacob will divorce me because I deceived him." She implored HaShem not to put her to shame. When HaShem saw this, he immediately gave her children, in order that Jacob should abandon any thought he might have of divorcing her. Leah gave birth to a beautiful and wise son. She named him Reuben, meaning, "HaShem has seen my affliction, for now my husband will love me," is derived from the word see. There is an additional reason why Leah named her son Reuben. She foresaw by means of prophecy the righteous deeds her son would perform in the future, and named him Reuben, a composite of the 2 words Reu and vain, meaning, "See the difference between my son and my father-in-law Isaac's son Esau." Even though Esau sold his birthright to Jacob and had no more legal claim to it, he subsequently hated Jacob for taking the blessing. Reuben's birthright will also be taken from him and turned over to Joseph, but not only will he acquiesce, he will even come to Joseph's help and save him from the pit. Esau is a thief and a robber. My son will be meticulous in his care not to touch property that is not his, and he will only bring me dudaim flowers that are growing wild and not private property. All the tribes were named by their mothers with Ruach HaKodesh. The names which they gave their sons reflect their sons' characters and deeds. Later Leah gave birth to a second son and called him Shimon, because she said, "HaShem has heard that I am hated, and therefore he has given me this one also." The name Shimon is derived from the root shama, or heard. She also named him Shimon for a prophetic reason, foreseeing that he would have a wicked descendant. From this son will descend an enemy of HaShem, the Nasi Zimri ben Salu, who will bring a Midianite woman to the Mishkan. In this case, the word Shimon is derived from Sonai, enemy. The question arises why Leah should indicate in Shimon's name that a wicked man would be her descendant. Leah thus publicly admitted that the reason that Shimon could give rise to a descendant like Zimri was not due to Jacob, who was a tzaddik, but because she had not cleansed herself to perfection of the hateful qualities she possessed as Lavan's daughter. These negative qualities would reappear in her offspring. In naming her son Shimon, Leah blamed herself for whatever evil would occur in the future. A third son was born to Leah, and a heavenly voice came forth and proclaimed, "This one's name shall be Levi." The name Levi means, his descendants will be awarded by HaShem the 24 gifts of priesthood. Leah explained the name to mean, "Now my husband will become attached to me." Levi is then derived from leva, attach. Yehuda. When Leah gave birth to her fourth son, she exclaimed, "Now I shall praise HaShem." I knew that Jacob would beget 12 tribes. I believed that each of his 4 wives would have an equal share and bear him with 3 sons. Now, however, HaShem has given me a 4th son, which is more than my share. She therefore called him Yehuda, meaning, "Now I will give praise and thanks to HaShem." Yehuda is rooted in Hoda'ah, thanks. The Kohen visited the granaries to collect the teruma, the Kohen's due share of the produce from the farmers. One farmer gave him a large measure of grain for teruma, and the Kohen accepted it without a word of thanks. Neither did he express gratitude to the second farmer who gave him a big portion of teruma. Finally, one farmer gave him a handful of grain as a present, and the Kohen thanked him profusely. "My master, the Kohen," commented the other farmers, amazed. "We gave you much more than he did, and you accepted it without thanking us." "What you gave me was the portion due to me," answered the Kohen, "but he gave me his own personal share, and therefore I appreciate it." Thus Leah thanked HaShem because she regarded the 4th son as a special gift from HaShem, since she felt that in reality, he should have been born from another one of Jacob's wives. Each of Jacob's sons was born together with a twin sister. Each of the brothers later married the twin sister of another brother, except for Yosef, who was destined to marry Dinah's daughter, Oznus. Leah's daughter Dinah was born without a twin, and thus did not marry one of the tribes. Rachel demands children, and Jacob marries Bilhah and Zilpah. While Leah had given birth to 4 sons, Rachel was still childless. She was barren, as were all our mothers. Leah was an exception. She had given birth immediately in order that Jacob should not divorce her. Why did our mothers have to wait for children? HaShem desires the righteous to pray to him, and therefore he withholds children from them. Rachel said, "Why is it that my sister gives birth while I am childless? It must be that she is more righteous than I am." She said to Jacob, "Give me children, or else I will die." Jacob rebuked her, saying, "Your statement is untrue. Even if you have children, you will nevertheless die eventually." Rachel answered, "I referred to spiritual death. Unless I have children from you and help build the Jewish nation, I will lose my share in Olam Haba. Pray for me." Jacob was angry at her words and answered, "Am I in the place of God who withheld children from you? Why do you ask me to pray? Pray to HaShem yourself. I have children. It is from you that HaShem withheld children." HaShem did not approve of Jacob's answer and rebuked him, saying, "Is this the way to answer a childless woman in distress? I swear to you that your sons will in the future stand before her son Yosef, and he will repeat these very words, 'Am I in God's stead?'" This came true after Jacob's death, when the brothers were afraid that Yosef would take revenge on them for having sold him, and they entreated him to forgive them. Rachel argued, "Your grandfather Abraham, who already had a son from another wife, Hagar, nevertheless prayed that Sarah should be blessed with children. True, but would you do what my grandmother Sarah did? Bring another wife into the house? I agree to give you my maid Bilhah as a wife if I will be blessed with children in this merit." Bilhah was Lavan's daughter from a concubine. When Jacob had married Leah and Rachel, Lavan had given them in addition another 2 of his daughters to serve them. To Rachel he gave Bilhah, his older daughter, and to Leah he gave Zilpah, the younger daughter. All 4, Leah, Rachel, Bilhah, and Zilpah, were sisters. Nevertheless, the Torah refers to Bilhah and Zilpah as maids because they were born from Lavan's concubine. Jacob preferred Rachel and Leah to Bilhah and Zilpah. Jacob agreed with Rachel's idea. He freed Bilhah from her status as maid, giving her full status as a wife, and then he married her. Bilhah gave birth to a son, and Rachel called him Dan, meaning, "HaShem judged me," Dan means judging, "and found me unworthy of children, but now he listened to me and gave me a son through my maid." When Bilhah gave birth to a second son, Rachel called him Naphtali, saying, "I offered HaShem prayers," Naphtali is rooted in tefillah prayer, "that were pleasing to him, My prayers were accepted and answered like those of my sister. Rachel proclaimed that she had been granted this child through Bilhah because of her constant prayers. The name Naphtali also implies, I should have been married before my sister Leah, for had I informed Jacob that Leah was brought to him, he would have left Leah and married me. But in the merit of my silence, I was granted this son. According to the above explanation, is related to the Aramaic word which means huppah. Like the names of all the tribes, the name Naphtali also was inspired by Ruach HaKodesh. Its deeper prophetic connotation is, I was given a son who will be diligent in Torah study, derived from honey wafer, a description of Torah. When Leah realized that she was no longer bearing children, she gave her sister Zilpah to Jacob. In marriage, hoping for additional children through Zilpah, Zilpah gave birth to a son. She named him Gad, saying, Good luck came to the world. Gad means Mazal. She prophetically saw that God would be successful in warfare and thus be of help to all the other tribes. Zilpah bore another son whom Leah called Asher, exclaiming, Fortunate is the one who has a son such as this one. Asher from the root Ashrai, fortunate. Leah prophetically foresaw that Asher's land would be blessed with oil, and that his daughters would marry Kohanim, Gedolim, and kings. Although all our mothers lived for the sake of building the community of Israel, Leah displayed eagerness to contribute her utmost and exerted herself to increase the number of children to be born from her. As a reward, HaShem gave her additional sons. Leah bore a son and named him Issachar, saying, HaShem has rewarded me for having given my maid to my husband. Issachar from Skar, reward. Issachar was the tribe whose descendants became famous as Torah scholars who devoted their entire lives to Torah study. Leah gave birth to a sixth son and named him Zebulun, meaning, From now on my husband's home will be with me since I have as many children as all his other wives put together. The Zebulun is derived from Zebul, dwelling place. Zebulun, the merchant, would support his brother Issachar, who was occupied with Torah study. Indanmag and Yosef are born. When Leah was pregnant with a seventh child, she prayed to HaShem, Master of the universe. I know that 12 tribes will be born from Jacob. I already have 6 sons, and Bilhah and Zilpah gave birth to 4. If this one will be another son, my sister Rachel's share in the Jewish nation will be only 1 son, less than the share of the maids. As a result of her prayer, HaShem changed the sex of the child she was carrying from male to female. When a daughter was born to her, Leah called her Dinah, alluding to the fact that she had pronounced judgment upon herself and decided that this child should be a daughter. Dinah from Din, judgment. Another interpretation of the name Dinah is the exclamation of all of Rachel's sisters who called out to HaShem, Enough sons for us, give Rachel children. Related to enough, Rachel had unfailingly implored HaShem to grant her children ever since Jacob had rebuked her. She was joined in her tefillot by Jacob, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah. On Rosh Hashanah, the day of remembrance, when HaShem examines the record of every human being, HaShem judged Rachel and decreed that she was worthy of having a child. She became pregnant and had a son. When he was born, Rachel exclaimed, HaShem has removed my disgrace. Until now, people have insulted me, saying, if she were truly righteous, she would have children. She called him Yosef, since she knew through a prophecy that one more son would be born to complete the number of tribes. She therefore exclaimed, May the last to be added be from me. Yosef, rooted in Josephat and Lavan, changes Jacob's wages. As soon as Yosef was born, Jacob prepared to return to the land of Israel. He said to Lavan, Give me permission to return to my homeland. Let me go with my wives and children. You know how hard I worked for you. But should you refuse to let me leave, I will go in any case, even without your permission. Why is it, asked Lavan, that when your other sons were born, you did not mention anything about departure? But now, after Joseph's birth, do you wish to leave? Because, replied Jacob, I know that Joseph possesses the power to overcome Esau. Therefore I am now able to return and face my brother. We know by tradition that Esau is only overcome by the descendants of Rachel. Esau is like a straw, and the house of Joseph is compared to a flame consuming the straw. Joseph is victorious over Esau because Esau is the epitome of Tumah, impurity, and Joseph of Kedusha, purity. In addition, Joseph will be the only one able to answer Esau's arguments when the tribes argue with him in the future. The tribes will question Esau. Why did you pursue your brother Jacob? Esau, instead of answering them, will address the same question. To them, why did you pursue your brother Joseph? The tribes will then be silent, unable to reply. Joseph also will ask Esau why he pursued Jacob, and Esau will be unable to respond, for should he excuse himself by saying, Jacob did evil to me, Joseph will argue, my brothers also mistreated me, but nevertheless I responded with kindness. Thus he will succeed in silencing Esau. Lavan told Jacob, I found out through my agents of witchcraft that it was on account of you that HaShem blessed me. Before you arrived, I was a pauper possessing only a few sheep, but since your arrival, HaShem blessed me every month with another 1,000 rams, goats, and lambs. Before you came, I had only daughters, but because of your coming, sons were born to me also. Wherever a tzaddik goes, his neighborhood is blessed on account of him. Lavan said, Now tell me what wages you demand for your service. Give me all the speckled and spotted goats and dark sheep that will be born among your herds from now on. Jacob replied. Lavan agreed. Jacob then said, First separate from the herd all the speckled goats and dark sheep, so that you will not later claim that the newly born animals were already there from before, and actually belong to you. Lavan did as Jacob advised. He separated the herds, giving his sons all the spotted goats and dark sheep. However, he violated the agreement with Jacob by taking away even the white sheep and goats, leaving Jacob with only a few weak and barren animals. In spite of Lavan's attempt to deprive Jacob of his wages, HaShem caused all the newborn goats to be born speckled and spotted, and the sheep to be brown. Thus, Jacob acquired a big flock. When Lavan realized this, he changed his mind. Let us make a different arrangement, he said to Jacob. All spotted goats which will be born shall be mine, while you will receive those that are striped. Jacob consented, and HaShem again caused the newborns to belong to Jacob. They were all born striped. When Lavan realized it, he was enraged and decided to change the terms in the hope that Jacob would emerge empty-handed. Lavan broke his agreement with Jacob 100 times in all. In addition, he practiced 10 different types of witchcraft on Jacob in order to destroy him, but HaShem protected Jacob, and Lavan's power of sorcery was ineffective. Jacob did not suffer from Lavan's schemes, for HaShem's angel appeared to Jacob in a dream and showed him how to cause the goats and sheep to be born with the marks he desired. This happened when Lavan removed the spotted rams altogether so that no spotted lambs should be born. Jacob outwitted Lavan by using peeled, streaked sticks, inducing the mothers to give birth to sheep of this kind. Finally, Jacob emerged tremendously wealthy. He possessed hundreds of thousands of animals and was able to acquire gold and silver, slaves and maids, camels and donkeys. For what reason did HaShem put Jacob in a position where he would have to seek seemingly underhand devices to outwit Lavan? HaShem foresaw that Jacob's descendants would be exiled because of their sins. If not for their forefather Jacob, who had undergone a similar situation, the children of Israel could not have withstood the tribulations of exile. The hardships and tribulations our forefathers experienced made subsequent difficulties easier for their descendants to endure. Once Jacob was saved from Lavan's plots, his offspring would also survive the evil schemes of their adversaries in exile. Jacob flees with his family and Lavan pursues him. The faces of Lavan's sons grew pale with jealousy. Jacob took all our father's possessions. They exclaimed. The fact was that Lavan's sons had been born only in Jacob's merit, and whatever riches Lavan possessed were due to Jacob, but they reversed the situation and blamed Jacob for having stolen Lavan's property. HaShem, who had not spoken, to Jacob for the past 20 years while he stayed in the vicinity of Parasha, now appeared to Jacob and commanded him, "Return to the land of Israel. My Shekinah will not rest upon you until you return to the Holy Land." Jacob would have preferred to leave with Lavan's permission. Since he knew that Lavan would detain him, however, he was forced to flee in secret. He called Rachel and Leah to the field, where he could speak to them without being overheard by Lavan or his sons, and explained to them that all his wealth was legitimately acquired from Lavan and was not stolen. He concluded by saying, "HaShem has appeared to me and commanded me to return to my land." Rachel and Leah agreed, saying, "Our father never treated us like daughters, but rather like strangers. Instead of giving us a dowry, as a father usually gives to a daughter who is getting married, he sold us to you for the work of your hands. Worse yet, whenever he notices a beautiful object in our house, he takes it away." Jacob waited until Lavan left to shear his flocks, which his sons were tending at 3 days' journey, and then he took the opportunity to flee with his household in secret. Before leaving, Rachel stole Lavan's teraphim, household gods, and took them along with her. What were the teraphim? They were household gods, the objects of an ancient form of idol worship by means of which the worshippers divined the future. The idol worshippers used to slaughter a firstborn child, and then salt and oil his skull. They put a scroll of paper under the tongue of the skull on which they inscribed Shemot Hatuma, names of demons. They hung it on the wall, lit candles in front of it, and burned incense. These teraphim were then able to speak and to foretell the future. Lavan was one of the greatest magicians of olden times, and a worshipper of the teraphim. When Rachel stole them, she had a twofold goal in mind. She hid them l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven, saying, "How can I go away and leave the old man to serve his abomination here?" She wanted to prevent the teraphim from revealing to her father word of their flight. Although Rachel's motives in stealing the idols were praiseworthy, she was nevertheless punished for the grief she caused her father. As a result of her actions, Jacob's curse that whoever had taken the idol should perish was fulfilled, and she died during Binyamin's birth and was not privileged to raise her son. For 3 days, Lavan knew nothing of his son-in-law's departure because he was far from home, occupied with the shearing of the sheep. On the 3rd day, a messenger from the town came and notified him, "3 days ago our well water dried up. The blessing which caused it to overflow for 20 years has ceased. We waited 3 days to see if it would be returned, but the wells are still dry, so I came to inform you." "This must mean," said Lavan, "that Jacob left." He searched his estates and found Jacob and his family and their belongings to be missing. His teraphim was gone too. Lavan mobilized his men and pursued Jacob with the intention of defeating him with 2 methods. He prepared the most powerful magic formula he knew to destroy Jacob by the word of his mouth, and he also brought along weapons to kill him. This is the meaning of the words, "Arami Ovaid Avi the Aramite, Lavan, destroyed my father." Although Lavan ultimately was unable to kill Jacob, HaShem reckoned his diabolic plan as if it had been carried out. Since Lavan traveled at a much faster speed than Jacob, who had a household and little children, he overtook him after only 1 day's journey. But the angel Michael appeared to Lavan in a dream, drawing his sword and threatening to kill him. He warned Lavan, "Beware of speaking to Jacob either good or evil." HaShem did not wish Lavan to speak even good words to Jacob because, as we shall see later, he mentioned idols even when speaking friendly words, as when he said, "The God of Nahor may judge between us." When Lavan was face to face with Jacob, he accused him, saying, "Why did you flee secretly and lead away my daughters like captives of the sword? If you had told me about your plans, I would have sent you away with joy, with songs and drums and harps. I possess the power to do evil to you, but HaShem, your God, warned me last night. Do not speak to Jacob either good or evil." The wicked Lavan boasted that if not for HaShem's having appeared to him, he would in fact have done evil. All Rashaim are proud of their power to inflict harm. Then Lavan asked Jacob, "Even if you left me because you longed to return to your father's house, why have you stolen my gods?" Jacob answered Lavan's questions in the correct sequence, replying first to Lavan's first question as to why he had fled in secret. He explained, "I feared that you would not let your daughters leave." Then he answered Lavan's second question truthfully, not knowing that Rachel had taken the teraphim. "The person with whom you find your gods shall not live. Go look for what is yours and take it." Since a blessing or curse that a tzaddik utters is fulfilled, and Jacob said, "Whoever has taken the teraphim shall not live," Rachel thereby became punishable by death. HaShem waited, however, until she gave birth to Binyamin before fulfilling Jacob's words. Lavan entered Jacob's and his wives' tents and searched for them, but he found nothing. He then proceeded to investigate the tents of the tribes, but they rebuked him, saying, "We are ashamed of you, grandfather, that in your old age you come to look for idols which have been stolen from you." When Lavan heard them speak in this manner, he understood that they certainly had not stolen his teraphim and did not search their tents. Since Lavan's hunt had so far proven fruitless, he returned to Rachel's tent a second time. He suspected Rachel of the theft because he knew her to be meddlesome. Rachel had put the teraphim in the saddle pillow of her camel and was sitting on them. She excused herself to her father, saying, "I am sorry that I am unable to rise for you, but I do not feel well." Lavan was nevertheless suspicious. He therefore felt the pillow on which she was sitting. But Lavan found only linens under the saddle pillow. A miracle happened, and the teraphim turned into linens so as not to put Rachel to shame. Finally, Lavan gave up his search, and Jacob angrily reproved him. "What is my crime or sin that you pursue me? You have looked through all my possessions, and what have you found of all your household goods?" Jacob's words implied, a son-in-law who lived in his father-in-law's house and leaves it would usually be given some item or another from his father-in-law's possessions. Who would dismiss a son-in-law empty-handed? But you, Lavan, have searched all my vessels and have not found as much as one single thread or needle that belonged to you. We have nothing whatsoever of yours in our possession. Jacob continued, "I served you faithfully for 20 years, 14 years for my wives and 6 years guarding your flocks. Are any of your sheep missing that you should pursue me? The contrary is true. Before I arrived, the lions used to attack the flocks every day and mangle the sheep. After my arrival, HaShem protected your herds, and the lions did not attack any more. I guarded your sheep in the heat of the summer and the cold of the winter. I did not act as do other shepherds who eat the rams and then tell the owner, 'The wolves ate them.' Nevertheless, you changed my wages 100 times. If not, for the merit of my fathers, I would have left empty-handed. HaShem saw my misery and recognized the labor I performed for you. He therefore appeared to you yesterday and reproved you." Lavan answered, "I never thought of harming my daughters or their children. Your wives are my daughters, and your sheep are my sheep. Let us enter a covenant stating that we will not harm each other. The covenant between us will be valid also for all future generations. It will guarantee to me that when your descendants will at a later period conquer these lands, they will leave untouched my land, the land of Aram." Jacob agreed. He brought a tremendous stone which he set up single-handedly. Lavan and Jacob designated that solitary boulder as a reminder to both parties never to cross that landmark with evil intentions against each other. Jacob's sons collected additional stones, piling them up into a heap to demonstrate that their descendants, too, would never harm each other. One of Lavan's descendants ignored the covenant between Lavan and Jacob. This was the evil prophet Bilam, who was Lavan's grandson, who attempted to curse the children of Israel. On the way, he passed the heap of stones that had been set up, as a testimony to the peace which reigned between Lavan's and Jacob's descendants. Bilam disdainfully stuck his sword into it, demonstrating that he was ignoring the covenant and would go and curse Israel in spite of it. But the witness itself, the heap of stones, punished him. Bilam's foot was pressed against it and crushed. He was finally slain by the children of Israel with the very same sword that he had stuck into the memorial heap. Lavan departed with kisses and blessings to his grandsons and granddaughters. This demonstration of affection, however, was a mere outward show. The hypocrite Lavan had evil thoughts in his heart at that time. When Lavan returned to his house, he became a pauper once more, ending with as little as he had owned before Jacob arrived. The night he pursued Jacob, Burglars broke into his house and carried away all he possessed. He thus realized clearly that he had only been blessed on account of Jacob. Jacob is met by two camps of angels as Jacob entered the land of Israel. He was encountered by two camps of angels. One group was coming to take leave of him. These were the angels of Shutz La'aretz, outside of the land of Israel, who had accompanied him outside the land of Israel. The second camp that came to meet him was the angels of the land of Israel who would now stay with him. The angels sang and danced before him on his return to the land of Israel, the Holy Land. Why did Jacob deserve such a grand reception by the heavenly hosts? Jacob had spent a full 20 years in the house of Lavan, the sorcerer and idol worshipper, who was at the source of all powers of impurity and darkness of that time. In spite of the prevailing atmosphere of impurity, Jacob had fully overcome his Yetzer Hara, even in Lavan's house. When he returned, he was the same righteous man as when he had left, spiritually perfect. He was therefore welcomed by the hosts of the Shekinah. Jacob later testified about himself, "I dwelled with Lavan, but I still upheld all 613 mitzvot." For this extraordinary achievement, Jacob surely merited the honor of being met by two camps of angels. Thank you for joining this week's journey through the Midrash. If you enjoyed this story, don't keep it to yourself. Share this channel with someone. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button for the next story. See you next week on The Midrash Says Out Loud.